guys can't remember, our last year was really successful. Nearing the final table, almost got a bracelet. We were just about 500 tables short. It was close though. Oops.
Please don't hold up.
Today is quite the fitting day for redemption, as we are going to be joining the tag team event a little late, albeit, but we're still joining it for something quite important. Let's throw it over to a flashback of this time last year. I end up making the jam here from late position. I don't have to get through as many people. The big blind shows queen, king, offsuit, king, 8-5. Turns a 5 of diamonds. We're absolutely drawing dead on the river. Once again is a 5 of spades. Unfortunate for us, we could not get anything going in this tournament. You can only do so much. You got to win your flips to win these tournaments. So Ethan and myself, we're battling in a tournament for the right to be named the tag team champions of the world. That lasted less than one orbit. Today, we look to change that. Having Ethan as a partner is damn near unfair. You get the luckiness, but also, I have no worries and no stress. If I bust, he won't care too much. Because he busted last year, I'm kind of like free-rolling this whole thing. It's kind of exciting. It almost feels like deja vu, but in this version, I get to be the leadoff hitter. Things are getting very exciting. We decide to take our seat in this tag team event at 4:45 p.m. and I will be the one that gets us going. Looks like we're going to start things off with a bang here. Don't tell Ethan, but under the gun makes it $1,200 to go, and I look down at a suited ace-9 of clubs. Action's over to me in the late position. I decide to 3-bet to 3,000. If we're going to, make a mark, let's go ahead and make it now. I'm sitting on about a 25 or 20,000 starting stack here as, not that many chips. Action is going to the flop here that comes out 7-6 deuce. Not a very good board here for us, but we do flop back to our equity. If I had aces or kings, I'd probably be doing a C-bet, which is what I do. I make it 1,500 to go. Our opponent makes a call here. We're going off to a turn card that comes with queen of diamonds. Seems like a good card for us to apply some pressure. Not going to be getting floated by a ton of hands that contain a queen outside of ace-queen. So I decide to size up a little bit. I make it 4,500 to go. My opponent thinks for some time before eventually folding. Way to get me off the board. Good start. It's easy when you just wake up with it,
Alright everyone, it's my turn to take over the ship here. Kron hands over the keys to this tournament and gives me 30,000 chips here. We're on level 6, blinds are 300, 600, 600, and I pick up 40% of a royal, queen 10 of hearts in the low jack. Raising's up to 1,400, and I get the button player to 3-bet me to 4,200. You think I'm going to fold this one? Absolutely not. Not scared of your 3-bet, sir. I'm happy to make the call, and we're going to a flop of king 3-3 to hearts. That's right. Got the flush draw on a king high paired board. I check it over to my opponent, and he throws out a bet of 3,500. Little bits of a chunky bet here in the 3-bet pot, but happy to make the call with, the obvious flush draw. Going to a turn, which is the bank 8 of hearts. I check once again to my opponent, and he fires out 15,000. I don't have a lot left in my stack, and Karan, you might hate me for this. There's a chance I might be dead here to a full house. I could be dead to an ace-high flush, but with the queen-high flush, not going to go anywhere. I'm all in for 26.1 thousand chips total, and he makes the call with ace-king offsuit, but to sweat, he has the ace of hearts. Don't give me a 3, king, or heart on the river. Dealer gives me a clean river, and we double things up. And just like that, my back really hurts from carrying the team. Just a few minutes into sitting down, I've already doubled up our stack. And now time to give Karan the chance to make more chips, leaving him with over 60,000 in our stack. Back off to Karan.
In his short time playing, Ethan was able to get us a full double. We're going to tag him out in a second, but first, as a good partner, we're going to bring him some crepes so he can refuel because he's going over to the wind to play the mystery bounty bonanza thing. But for me, it's time to grab these crepes and play some more poker.
Right. But did he answer?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. So just falsely accused.
Yeah.
Looking to use that massive double up that Ethan just got as a catalyst for a huge sun run. This next hand, under the gun limps for 800, and I find myself in the cutoff with ace king of clubs. You love to see it, baby. I decide to raise it up here
to a resounding 2.5 thousand. Our opponent pretty quickly makes the call here, and we're going off to a flop that comes queen 9-4 rainbow. There's a club out there. We do have some backdoor opportunities. So when the auction checks over to me, I think we got to throw out a little C-ball for a good old-fashioned down bet to 1,800 chips. Our opponent seems to like that price and makes the call. We're going off to a turn card that comes the 8 of clubs. Great for many different reasons, as we now pick up a flush draw to add some equity to our hand. But when the action's checked to me, feels like we got to play this a little cautiously. The river card gets us there, kinda. It's a king of diamonds. But my hand, once again, is too far good to fold. There's a small chance my opponent can be value betting a hand that's worse, like queen jack. So when I throw in the call, our opponent was value betting a worse hand, as he has ace-9 offsuit. We show our hand, and we are in fact good. Taking down that pot, let's go. Well, I just got news from Ethan that he's going to be having a long night at the other tournaments he's playing. We were lucky enough to get him here. For the rest of the night, you're stuck with me, and I'm going to have to be the one that anchors us into day 2. Well, here we go. Level 7, 800 big blind. Action's on me under the gun, and I raise to 1,800. It folds all the way to the cutoff, who 3-bet jammed for 17.5k. Good for about 21 big blinds. Action folds back to me. I've already raised. I've got some money in the middle, and my hand's really good, obviously. I have an easy call here, and it's a good old-fashioned raise, so my opponent shows pocket 10s. The flop puts a whole lot more excitement out there as it comes out ace, queen, 6, all spades. Going off to a turn card that comes a 10 of clubs. Well, that's the hard way to get there. Not good for me. We're looking to pair the board here. Ace or queen dealer. One time, the river card brings paint, but it's the jack of clubs. Well, that 40,000 chip pot is not coming my way. A little unfortunate. Give Ethan the updated news, but here we are continuing to battle. Ace queen has not been too nice to me, but in this next hand, pocket 6s. We love 6s. So the action on me under the gun, I raise to 2,000 at the 1k big blind level. Next to act sitting on 5,700 chips goes all in. Everyone else folds, and for 4,700 more, or 4.5 big blinds more pretty much, easiest call of my life, I flick it in. It's a good old-fashioned race when my opponent shows ace-10 offsuit, but the flop gives us a set, putting a lot of the worry at bay. But the churn card gives my opponent an open-ended straight draw now. We've got a good old-fashioned sweat. Once again, looking to fade any 8, any queen, or I should say any king, and the river card comes an ace, but luckily for us, our set is gonna hold. We scoop yet again another pot here, putting us in the right direction. Tournaments are the epitome of momentum. When you're running hot, you're feeling hot, you're playing hot, things usually pan out for you. If it's a cursed tournament and things are just not working out for you, as you guys have seen with negreanu and what he's been saying, he feels like he's been running bad, and it just keeps on happening no matter what tournament he gets into. Momentum has been on our side though, and this hand is a good example of it, where, in level 8, once again, I raise the button with jack 6 of clubs to 2,000. I am definitely the biggest stack here. We have built ourselves up to about 75,000 chips or so. Our opponent is going to go ahead and make the call here, having 40,000 chips, if I'm not mistaken. And the flop comes giving us so much equity. We flop a gutter ball as well as a club draw. Action checks over to me, and I decide to check this one back. I think I'll be kind of regretting this later. I think I should be c-betting a board like this, but in real time, I feel like this is a good hand to just sneakily check back, make our hand on the turn, which we do as it comes 8 of clubs, and go for maximum value. Our opponent checks to me, and now sizing up seems like a good idea. We missed some opportunity at building the pot on the flop, but we won't do that now that we have our hand made. I make it 3,500. My opponent looks like he might want to raise, but decides to just call. At this point, the river card comes out, the king of diamonds. It changes nothing. The board does not pair. There's no scare cards. There's no clubs out there. And my opponent checks it over to me again. Easiest spot of my life for go for a big bet here. Over bet alert. I decide to bet 14,000. I'm looking to get an opportunity to get called off or cooling off my opponent if they happen to have a hand like 7-8 of clubs, 9-8 of clubs. You know what I'm talking about. All the other flushes, as well as possible flop straights that slow played. My opponent snap calls, beats me in the pot nearly. I show my hand, proud as can be, and he shows queen deuce of clubs. Oh, damn. That is not great for me. A massive cooler, bringing us down to 55,000 chips. But hey, we still got 50 big blinds to work with. Let's battle back, baby. Okay, so maybe momentum wasn't on our side in the last hand, but here we are once again. I'm going to cut off with queen and jack of clubs. I raised to 2.5k. The small blind calls we tangled with last hand, and we're going off to a flop here that comes out ace, ace, 6. Easy spot for us to just c-bet with the action over to me. I make it 1,500, looking to equity deny. Our opponent calls here, and we're going off to a turn card that is a great one as it comes to jack of diamonds. With my opponent checking it over to me now, this is a clear spot to now start betting for value. Sure, our opponent can still have an ace, which is what we can be worried about sometimes, but when our opponent's going to have a hand like 7s, 8s, 9s, all those hands are still going to call when I bet here. So I bet for value 3,500, and my opponent calls. We're going off to a river card here that brings us triple pair as it comes to queen of spades. When my opponent checks over to me, at this point, it's a little not feasible for me to get more value. If my opponent was getting really sticky with king high like king 10, he now gets there. If our opponent has a hands like king queen, which was getting sticky with a king high, he gets there. We have an easy check back here. I check it. My opponent shows queen jack, and I do one of my favorite things in poker, which is slow rolling a chop, which I think is totally fine. We end up chopping that pot, and as you guys know, everyone loves a chopped pot. We are now getting deep into the night. We're only playing 1 or 2 more levels as it is and as it stands. The one problem is I have not had a chance to take any breaks. I will be playing for like 5 or 6 hours straight after Ethan has left us here to die. No, in reality, he's just busy, and him playing with me was already really, really awesome on his part. Busy schedule, both of us, and here we are battling away. In this next hand, we look down at 10-8 of spades here. I'm in middle position, and I make it 2,500. Our opponent here from late position decides to make the call, and we're going off to a flop here that gives us bottom pair. Easy spot for us to see better, at least that's what I think in real time. This is a good range spot for me. I just bet 1,500. Our opponent makes a call, and the turn card is an interesting one as it comes to king of diamonds. I think at this point we can still get value from worse sometimes. It sounds really dumb, but I can also sometimes get better to fold. Maybe jack 10 might call here, but a hand like queen 10 or queen 9, middling hands like that might consider folding at least to this bet. So I make it 2,500, but my opponent makes a call. We now go to a river card that comes out the queen of hearts, probably the worst card in the deck. And to couple the really bad river card, I decided to throw in a really dumb bet for 7,000. This doesn't really do much. My hand turns into 10 high, and sure, maybe getting jack high to fold would be great. But I think even if I bet 3,000 or 4,000, jack 10, jack high is folding either way. Betting 7,000 is just going to get snapped up by a hand that contains a king or a queen, which my opponent does as he snap calls with queen and jack off. Great example right there of reading and understanding the situation. A really small bet, like even 1,000 or 2,000, would have got a fold out of jack high, which is what I was targeting. But, here we are, making mistakes. I'm only human. At this point, we have chipped down from our highest point around 70,000 to 44,000. Things are not going in my way. The blinds are going up, and the blinds keep passing me. I'm getting eaten up by them. In this next spot here, I have about a 45,000 chip starting stack. When the cutoff raises 3,500, I'm in a different seat, as you can tell, which means we've been table changed. We have 1 level to go in the night. There is so much going on here. We looked down at ace king offsuit. Wow. Big slick when we needed it the most. I decided 3-bet to 8,200, looking to apply max pressure on my opponent, as well as get the money in the middle. I'm not ecstatic about getting all this money in the middle, but with sub 30 big blinds, we got ace king. I mean, what the hell are we doing? We got to get some money in the middle. Our opponent, after a brief thought, decides to go all in, having me covered. We have the easiest call of our lives. We're going off to the races. My opponent shows pocket queens for a good old-fashioned race if I've ever seen one. The window card is a little sketch as it comes the deuce of spades, but is followed by an ace and a king. Let's go. The 7 of hearts and the jack of hearts. We get a full double sitting on 90,000 chips now. Whew, that is what we love to see, baby. Momentum is key. In this next hand, it's still level 10. We're nearing the end of the level. When Our opponent here decides to open to 3,500. I looked down at an ace-queen offsuit directly to his left, and I decided 3-bet to 8,000. With the action folded back to me, he thinks about it for quite some time, and then I realize, with all this thinking, my opponent's probably going to do the good old-fashioned re-raise, but he does something I wasn't expecting. He goes all in for 50 big blinds. If you guys are kind of new to poker tournament stuff, this is kind of crazy. This is a really big all-in. I think about it for some time, and I just feel like my opponent might be blasting off or pushing me off my hand with a hand like a suited ace wheel type holding, or maybe a hand like pocket jacks or pocket tens. I don't think that aces or kings ever jams in this spot, as it's a massive overplay that can probably get me to just make a big fold like this. So tip my cap off to my opponent. If it was a bluff, it's a damn as hell sure a really good one. I think about it for some time before deciding on a fold. After folding, no, you don't need to adjust your screen. This is absolute deja vu in the purest form. As the very next shuffle, our opponent once again raises to 3,500, and I look down at like nearly the same suit, ace queen off. What the frick? Well, if it doesn't work the first time, you gotta try again. Easy spot for us to 3-bet here in late position. I make it 8,000 to go once again. Action folds back to my opponent, who this time does the thing again where he takes his time before eventually deciding on a 4-bet this time of the not all-in variety. He makes it 21,500 chips to go. Definitely sketchy here, and sitting on a starting stack of 75,000. I've already got 8,000 invested in there. Not a whole lot more for me to go. My hand is really good here, and it's even better when we call and the flop comes out queen 7 deuce rainbow. Really good board for us here now. We are only losing to pocket aces and pocket kings. Ace is not so likely because we have one, but if our opponent has a hand like king queen suited, pocket jacks, pocket tens, we have taken a massive lead. He decides to throw out a really small c-bet of 10,000. Going all in here is an absolute disaster. All of his bluffs fold and all of his better hands call. We almost never get called by worse, so we make the call. The turn card is a really interesting one, as it comes out the 10 of spades. This now brings in a backdoor flush draw. A hand like ace king of spades, ace jack of spades, all now improve to a straight flush draw. And when my opponent decides to go all in for my remaining stack, oh, this is where the trouble now becomes really relevant. I'm sitting on about 40,000 behind. This is a massive jam, but as you guys can tell, we have probably one of the best hands I'm ever going to have here. And when that's the case, you probably can't be folding. I don't think I'll ever have tens here. It feels like pocket queens and ace queen are literally the best hand I'll ever have here. And it's even better when I don't have the ace of spades in my hand, as my opponent can still be bluffing with a hand like ace king of spades, ace 5 of spades, ace jack of spades. All of those hands make sense as bluffs. So although it pains me and I'm going to have to meet the piper if I'm wrong, I make the call. My opponent shows me the absolute disaster when he exposes pocket Hurons. Well, this huge pot of over 150, 160,000 chips is going to need a miracle on the river. Any ace or queen would be amazing. I'm going to ask you guys to do me a massive favor and click the like button in 1, 2, 3. Can we do it for the boys? It is a 6 of hearts. With utter disgust and disappointment, a really tough situation that I'm going to have to meet the piper for occurs. Frustrated is the understatement, but what can you do? That's poker, right?
I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy.
Unfortunately, we are out. Unfortunate nonetheless. Just super goofy. Ace queen off. Back-to-back hands against the same exact opponent. One day we will run into a grinder that's bluffing, but until then, frustrated, but on the bright side, it was a small tournament, the smallest one we'll be playing all weekend. So I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my day by getting home early. Tournaments are usually fun. It was kind of it was not a long day. We played for like 6 hours. I couldn't even call it grueling, but just frustrating. Back-to-back hands, ace queen, the parking lot hand. It's fucking scary. I've lost ace queen in like every single tournament that we've played. All of them. We just keep losing with ace queen. So that's gonna do it. Sorry, Ethan. I guess this is, you know, last year you busted early. This year I busted early. Not early, actually. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Ethan for playing with me again this year. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Deuces.
It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed.